103.5 FM.
It's 12 p.m. here in the capital Accra, live from the Platinum Place. You're welcome to the Starr Midday News. And coming up in the next 30 minutes, opposition NDC demands the Ghana Armed Forces to confidently call out the Amenfi East parliamentary candidate for the NPP, Ernest Frimpong, over his unsavory comments urging illegal miners to attack its personnel. Later, governance analyst backs call by Speaker against deployment of military on election day.
So in all election, we will want the police to be at the front, and they should be at the front, because you bring them early. Their presence in itself can be intimidating to voters. So I will hope that we will go by the normal practice of putting the military on the alert, but in reserve.
We'll also touch on education, as education think tank Africa Education Watch describes move by government to introduce a free SHS bill to make the policy mandatory for future governments as unnecessary.
Already we have a legal or statutory provision for pre-senior high school. So what's the majority leader or the cabinet seeks to achieve with the new bill? Absolutely, I don't have an idea. But there is nothing wrong if a bill wants to give a legal backing to the pre-senior high school.
We have details of these and many others all in this 30 minutes belt. Do stay tuned in.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, MyStar Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
And I am Lily Mohammed. Let's settle for the details. And we begin with education, particularly on government's flagship free SHS policy. As education think tank, the Africa Education Watch has described a move by the government to introduce a free SHS bill to make the policy mandatory for future governments as unnecessary. The free SHS bill is part of a number of legislations expected to be considered by Parliament during the third meeting. According to the education think tank, Section 3 of the Pre-Tertiary Education Act 2020, Act 1049 states that secondary school in its current and different forms, including TVET, shall be free and accessible to all eligible candidates. The CSO believes there is already a law backing implementation of the free senior high school. Majority Leader Alexander Kwame Appenyo-Marking, addressing the media in Parliament yesterday, argued such a legal backing for the policy will ensure it becomes a right for every qualified Ghanaian.
That you cannot enforce. You cannot claim rights to those provisions. The fact that they are there does not mean that you can apply to the court to enforce those rights. They are merely, should I use merely? They are aspirational. Now, when it gets to a point that a government lifts it up to give life to it, there's a need to enact a law to regulate same. And in doing so, it should have been given life. Then the lawyers will say now it has become justiciable, in the sense that a court of law can rely on it to make certain orders, enforce certain rights, and give rights, and take certain actions. So I think that this free SHS bill, if we consider as a house, what that means is that it becomes mandatory for government to implement this. Unless it is repealed, no government would have the right to say I am not going to enforce free SHS because now there's a law.
So that's the Majority Leader, Alexander Kwame Aking on the subject. Let's still stay on the subject. Senior Programs Officer of the Africa Education Watch, Divine P, joins me for an ended conversation. Divine, your outfit, good afternoon to you, first of all. Your outfit says this bill is needless. Why?
Well, if you look at the premise from which the government wants to come from, if you say you want to prevent future government from cancelling the policy and therefore you need an act, then obviously you don't need that because the Pre-Tertiary Education Act 2020 at 1047 already provides that secondary school education in its all forms, including TVET, shall be free. So there's already a statutory back into the regional high school. So what again do you need? If that is your only objective, that's why you want to introduce another bill, So for me, if that's the premise, then I don't think we'll need that. But if they say that, okay, what is provided for in the Pre-Tertiary Education Act is not sufficient enough to define the scope and then also the strategy for implementation, resourcing and efficiency in its delivery, and they want to expand on it to achieve that makes sense to me. That if they want to do something more expansive, that is fine. But if it is to attain political points, then we have introduced a law to make it illegal. That's why NDC cannot come to cancel it. Then I don't think we will need that political scoring that the government will want to score. But they have to proceed from the premise that, well, probably what is in the Education Act is not sufficient enough, so we want to bring something that defines the scope properly. That way, that's fine. Because where we are now, I think everybody has accepted the fact that free SHS has come to stay. I do not see a future NPP government who say we want to cancel it. They are, of course, they are originated the prisoner high school. I don't see a future NDC government to say I'm canceling prisoner high school because, of course, they also started the progressive prisoner high school. So we need not to proceed from this particular angle. For me, this angle that we are proceeding from is actually meaningless.
Now, Divine, the policy in its current form is fraught with challenges. Don't you think this bill will address some of the bottlenecks that a number of institutions, for instance, the Africa Education Watch, has tabled?
That's what I said, that yes, if they want to proceed from the fact that they want to increase the scope of what we already have in the Pre-Tertiary Education Act, that is fine. Where it will encapsulate views that have been emerging on how to promote efficiency of the program, that's fine. There's nothing wrong to introduce a law to promote efficiency. That's what they must be mindful of. So that is the premise that they have to proceed from. Not to say a future government to cancel, so let's legislate. Because there's already a legislation that makes it clear. So the idea should be that there are several proposals from different angles, from civil society organizations, from the academia, from the media, faith-based organizations, on how we can promote efficiency in the prisoner high school policy implementation. That should be the path we should be proceeding from. And in that, when we are doing that, we take into consideration all the views that have been coming so far. And it should also be that we have enacted it, because one thing we have to also be responsible that government has always been opposing the majority of the views that are becoming on board to reform the policy. So probably government may even want to legislate and ensure that some of these proposals like cost sharing or targeting, government want to legislate so that there will not be a way to ensure that we target it. Government should not use the legislation to close the window on some of these proposals. Because I know government has been opposing some of these recommendations you say we have been making. If government has been opposing them and then probably take a step to legislate and then close the window for them to consider some of these options, it will be very bad. So it's also critical that if government wants to proceed on the premise that they want to make the policy efficient and therefore they want to pass a law that expands the scope of what you already have in the Pre-Tertiary Education Act, then it must also be inclusive enough, and then so participatory must be very broad, that will ensure that at the end of the day, whatever we have in the art, we would have reflected the broader view of majority of Ghanaians.
Now, do you foresee a review of the policy as spelled out by the IMF report?
Well, if the government says they will not review, but probably if what they are trying to intend would be an opportunity for them to review, that is welcome, because for us, that's always been the case that there's a need for a review, but government says no, if it is not broken, there's no need to fix it. But we all know that somehow the policy is broken and there's the need to fix it. So I think that if they are thinking of an art, that's what I'm saying. The art should not be that we are preventing a future government from stopping it or cancelling it. It should be from the mindset that there's a need to review, and we can use the opportunity of the art or the bill that we want to introduce to smoothen the rough edges that will make it more efficient.
Divine, thank you very much. We'll leave you here for now. When the bill is presented, we'll come back and have an extended conversation. Thank you very much. So that's Divine. He is the Senior Programs Officer for the Africa Education Watch. We're able to speak to a member of the Education Committee in Parliament to find out what modalities will be spelt out in the policy. As when we reach him, we'll bring you that conversation. But let's move on and do other stories. The National Democratic Congress, the NDC, is asking the Ghana Armed Forces to be bold and confident to call out Amenfi East parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party, Ernest Frimpong, on his recent viral video. Frimpong was heard inciting miners to attack military personnel who tried to stop their mining activities. The NDC, in a statement, attributed the December 7, 2024 election to a make-or-break event which will demand red flags such as Frimpong's comments nipped in the bud. Here are excerpts of the statement signed by a deputy national organizer for the NDC, Elikem Kotoko.
Unless the Ghana Armed Forces, once the most disciplined and revered institution in Ghana, has become compromised along political lines, one wonders why the author of your release, Brigadier General E. Agri Kwashi, Director General Public Relations, will conceal the detail of calling out the persons found in the viral video and warning them directly instead of displaying cowardice by rather cautioning the general public. The Ghana Armed Forces cannot suddenly become so spineless and lose its denture to the extent that it fears to call out the name of the person who called for the attacks on soldiers. We do not want to believe this is because Ernest Frimpong belongs to the political party, which the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also belong. If the Ghana Armed Forces continues in this manner, it loses respect, and that will pose a further danger for this country. We don't want to think that the Ghana Armed Forces wants to record a Major Mahama-like incident again before it acts bluntly on the irresponsible comment of the NPP parliamentary candidate, Mr. Ernest Frimpong. Rather than spend time cautioning the general public in your 5-paragraph release on information they already know, be bold, confident, courageous and assertively stand to call out and caution Mr. Ernest Frimpong. He called for the attacks on your men and not the general public. If the top hierarchy of the Ghana Armed Forces doesn't find it worthwhile to seek justice for the innocent junior ranks who are put or sent in harm's way, we in the NDC will deem it a national duty to do so, and by this letter we'll be lodging official complaint with the CID of the Ghanaian Police Service to ensure that perpetrators of such heinous crimes and Mr. Ernest Frimpong, who incited illegal miners, are brought to book.
Well, the signatory to this statement, Deputy National Organizer of the NDC, Elikem Kotoko, has been speaking to the party's decision to issue the strong-worded statement. He spoke on GH1 TV earlier.
For Christ's sake, he didn't speak Spanish, neither did he speak Italian or Mandarin for us not to understand, to require his further explanation. He said it very clear that they should go after the soldiers and the police who come to patrol and beat them up, because the present government has suspended Operation Galamstop, Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt 1 and 2, etc. He said so. And let me also remind our viewers that do not forget that this is the same regime that went all over, burning excavators of these miners and allotting these concessions to themselves. We saw in the leaked tapes of Ewusi and Professor Frimpong Boateng, etc., what they have done to our lands. And then, knowing that there's an election coming, they turn around to make it look as if that they are rather the good friends of these miners. It is the reason why in the NDC, we had stated already how we intend to make sure we regularize, we enforce, we actually demilitarize the process that we are seeing today. So if Ernest Frimpong is saying that what he said was taken in context, I'm sorry, he didn't speak any foreign language that you and I did not understand. I was listening to even the regional minister of the Greater Accra region, that was Glover, this morning, and he condemned outright what the gentleman said, that it was unacceptable. It was very reckless and condemnable. And it is most unfortunate that in response to that, when we have our military losing their men, not at battlefront, but on grounds in the country, the military, the brigadier general, who happens to be the head of the public relations, would write such a love letter trying to caution the public, knowing very well in his sanity that the public never attacked any soldier, and the public remains a friend to the soldier or the military. So they should be bold enough, they should be assertive, they should be fair and firm to be able to call out Ernest Frimpong that, hey, 24 hours after you issued that statement, in a video that went viral, this is what has happened. And don't forget that the regional minister was present there. And the regional minister also somehow reinforced and re-echoed what Ernest Frimpong said.
So that's Zelikem Kotoko. He's a deputy national organizer for the NDC. Let's get a security perspective to this. Security analyst Dr. Adam Bona has been reacting to the development.
The military, I was concerned because then the military seemed to be warning us, they generally warning all of us as Ghanaians to desist. Meanwhile, they know who the culprits, the key suspects are, and not everybody. I would not, and I don't think you will want to ask, citizens to beat up ordinary citizens, let alone ask them to beat uniformed officers. So I would have wanted to see, and I raised them that, well, I don't know why the military have become so politically correct that someone has issued a fatwa on you, a declaration of war on you, and all you do is to not call them out, but you begin to talk to everyone instead of mentioning them and extending an advice to the rest of us, which they failed to do. So yes, I've seen the NDC, what do you call that, a press release. And if you ask me, I will tell you that I think it is important that all of us, because, as the president said, we are supposed to be citizens and not spectators. And therefore, the military is the military of the Republic of Ghana. We all have relations in the military. Some of us have very close relations in the military and very close friends. Therefore, you wouldn't want anyone to issue a fatwa on our military officers, police officers, immigration, and the rest. And we sit and we watch when the military high command itself don't want to deal with the issue. We know what happened to Major Mahama. So it's important that maybe the military, I would have wished that they withdraw their statement and come again.
When you say come again, is calling him out enough?
You see, it will go on record. You see, the truth is that whatever our state institutions do, the military press release that came out will be on their files for centuries to come. And therefore, it is important that these things are properly documented. When we are probably gone, we have left the surface of the earth, centuries to come.
That's security analyst Dr. Adam Bona speaking to Nadima Uthman a while ago. Let's still stay on national security issues. Governance analyst Professor Bafo Ajimendua is backing calls by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, against the deployment of the military to various voting centres on election day. Speaker Bagbin is leading the legislature to take steps to engage stakeholders in ensuring a free and fair election come December 7. The move, according to the Speaker, is to avert any breach of the peace and stability of the country as a result of the disputed election. In his welcome address to MPs after returning from the break, Alban Bagbin declared soldiers are not needed at voting centres on December 7, arguing the job must be left to the police.
I have therefore thought it wise to initiate an engagement of this House, led by my good self, with chairpersons of the Electoral Commission, the Media Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and the National Commission on Civic Education to discuss how Parliament could collaborate and work with them to create the right and just environment for free, fair, peaceful, and credible elections. This, I believe, will inspire confidence in the process and faith in our democratic institutions. We will definitely not be doing this alone. We will include the President, the Council of State, the National Security Council, flag bearers, and national executives of various political parties, the security service, particularly the police. And I emphasize, particularly the police. We don't want to see military during election. When there is a need to call them, they will be called, but they should not be at polling or voting centers. Honorable members, the clergy and notable civil society leaders will be actively involved. The signs and signals of happenings in the country are not that of assurance and hope.
Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Sumana Kensford Backbing. Well, governance analyst Professor Ajiman Dia agrees with the Speaker's sentiments. According to him, the police are the only security agents allowed at the election centres. He wants the military to only serve as backup and only be called upon when there is a breakdown of law and order. He spoke to us on the Morning Star.
I think I should commend Mr. Speaker for this initiative, which shows the concerns that he has for stability. Over the years, we all know, it's not the first time we are going to elections. The police has the first responsibility of maintaining peace in the country. The military only comes in to back the police when the police has been unable to execute this kind of mandate. So in all elections, we will want the police to be at the front, and they should be at the front. But the military should always be ready in the reserve, be called upon in case there's a failure of maintaining security by the police. That is the normal practice. Because if you arm soldiers, and armed soldiers, as you know, they are not trained to be nice to you in the case of whenever there's a chaos or conflict. They are trained to bring in force to stop whatever that they need to stop. So if you bring them early, their presence in itself can be intimidating to voters. So I will hope that we will go by the normal practice of putting the military on the alert, but in reserve, to be ready to be called upon to intervene when there's a complete breakdown of law and order. That, I think, should be how we manage this.
Going forward, should the military play any role at all in our politics? And by that I mean, should we completely take them out of the security task force situation in every election and say that stay in the barracks until there is complete chaos before you are called upon?
Not at all. I mean, if we have designated hotspots, then you cannot say they should be confined to the barracks until something happens and we call on them. No. You see, the military in this situation should be made ready. They should be on the alert, on a standby. That's why I keep using the word. They should not be frontal in ensuring peace during elections. That is the job of the police. Their readiness should be known to all others. And anybody who has no direct orders from the legitimate authorities to be present should be reported. The soldiers are not required to be there.
That's Professor Bafo Ajimendua. He's a governance analyst. Still on elections, the NDC is accusing the MP for Kwesminsim in the Western Region, Prince Hamid Ama, of barring eligible persons to transfer their votes to his constituency in the ongoing voter transfer exercise. According to Constituency Secretary Nicholas Yankee, some non-residents of the constituency were barred from Accra by the incumbent MP to take part in the exercise on Tuesday, June 11, resulting in an altercation. He spoke to Star News about the development.
They don't know anywhere. They don't know anywhere, any place in Takoradi. They are from Ghana, Dakuma to be precise. and they've been asked by the MP, Prince Hamid Ama, to come and transfer their vote here. Now, the guy gave us where they would lodge, two places that they would lodge. We kept an eye over them, their movement, their everything. We have videos of them sleeping inside the yard on mattresses, moving, doing whatever so they would do. We left the place around 12 something. This morning, they got the hints and they are bringing them one after the other. The law says that that person, whoever wants to do the transfer, must be a local person at the area for a year or more. And this is our basis why we are driving and resisting them. Never, 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 you will never allow them to come and transfer their vote.
So that was Nicholas Yankee. He is a constituency secretary in the Kwesmintim constituency of the Western region. Let's do some sports now. Jones is here with the sports update. Jones, what's up on sports this afternoon?
Right, so coach of the Black Stars is in the news. Coach Utuado will be granting his first ever sit-down interview for more than an hour, of course, on Star 103.5 FM tomorrow with Bolare. So at 7 p.m., Coach Utuado would be in the studios of Star 103.5 FM. Let's start off from that. Very. I mean, it's his first time.
It will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
I'm particularly looking forward to it.
Yeah. So listeners will need to be tuned in.
Absolutely.
Of course. All right, let's get to Basake Holy Stars, and they have been confirmed as winners of Zone 2 in the Division 1 League after some delay caused from protest issues. The club from the Western region will now play in the Ghana Premier League next season. Their confirmation was delayed after protest issues involving Sesri All-Stars and King Faisal made 6 points uncertain for them. However, the GFA has cleared all the protest issues and 6 points fall in their laps, taking them above New Edubiasi, who also stood a chance of qualifying from the zone. So Holy Stars joined Vision FC, Young Apostles as the new boys in the Ghana Premier League. And then Vision FC would also be joining us on the game this afternoon at 1 p.m. on GH1 TV and on radio as well. Finally, the Euro 2024 Championship begins this Friday in Germany, and coach of the Three Lions of England, Gareth Southgate, has justified his decision to drop some key players from the national team.
Players took the news really respectfully. Of course, all players are going to believe they should be in, and that's why they're top players, because they have that self-belief and they have that mindset as well. The attacking areas of the pitch, in particular, we're blessed with a lot of options, all slightly different. Of course, Madders and Jack both give us something different as well. So they've been tough calls. They've been calls that we've gone over and over and over as a group of staff to try to be fair, to try to get the right rationale. Harry has made some progress, but that's been complicated, and we definitely wouldn't have had him in the group stages, and there was too many hurdles to get through without really being clear of where we might get to.
So England will begin their campaign on the 16th of June when they take on Serbia there. And good news for England, as Luke Shaw has begun training. All right, so that's all for sports. My name is Jones Aji.
Thank you very much, Jones, for that sports update. Let's head to the court shortly. The High Court in Accra has fixed July 10, 2024 to decide whether the Chief Executive Officer of defunct gold dealership Men's Gold, Nana Appiah Mensah, has a case to answer or not. This was after both defense lawyers and the prosecution highlighted their respective written submissions in favor and against a determination of a prima facie evidence. Prosecution closed its case after parading 9 witnesses in the case in which Nana Appiah Mensah, popularly known as NAM1 and 2 of his companies, Men's Gold Ghana Limited and Brew Marketing Consult Ghana Limited, have been charged with 39 counts of selling gold without a license, operating a deposit-taking business, inducements to invest, defrauding by false pretense, fraudulent breach of trust, and money laundering involving the sum of over 340 million cedis. Frederick Forsing is the PRO of the Coalition of Aggrieved Men's Gold Customers.
I think it's all well and good, and we know that the submission of no case is part of the court processes, and usually if you happen to be somebody who comes to court and seeking when some of these criminal trials are going on, defense team always apply this technique or strategy in making this submission of no case. But we are very hopeful, and we know that on the side of the prosecution there is a strong case, and we believe that NAM1 has a case to answer. So we leave that one to the court to decide on the 10th July that the date is fixed for. This year, we have decided to vote because of our money. As customers, we have decided to vote because of our money. We appreciate the moves by the Office of the Attorney General in taking this case to the higher courts. And so far, so good. We are very happy with the kind of commitment exhibited by the Attorney General, the Office of the Attorney General, including the AG himself, the Deputy, and the DPP. We don't want any blackmail. So if he's a political national security officer, we are cautioning him that this time he should be very professional and ensure he should be the person who should rather take the plight and the welfare of customers to the government so that they will be moved to pay the customers. So far, more than 220 people have died.
So that's the PRO for the Coalition of Aggrieved Men's Gold Customers, Frederick Forsing. And that's a wrap on the news. For more news updates, kindly log on to starfm.com.gh. My name is Lily Mohammed. At 5 p.m., the news team returns with Joshua Kojo-Mensah with Starr Today.